Alabama fans right now, I would imagine, are their head is all over the place. Coaching, players, stuff off the field. But the main thing is fans just want to see them make the playoffs. And right now, the key to making the playoffs is the resume.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at Alabama's resume, to me, making the playoffs is having a good resume and passing the eye test.
Yes.
And the resume blemishes are 2 losses that have come in Tennessee, and the eye test is some of the football we've seen the past couple weeks. But the eye test and the resume also includes a very quality win against Georgia that we've been talking about and hyping this episode thus far. So do the losses in Tennessee outweigh the win over UGA for Bama's playoff hopes?
Yeah, and the eye test is the biggest piece of that, because I think that while the record only shows 2 losses, the way that they played in those losses is even worse than what the paper would say. Like, in watching the game, Alabama played terrible against Tennessee. The offense played terrible. The defense played good. They played better. Tennessee made a lot of mistakes that the defense made them look better, because it was overthrowing guys left and right. But even in the win over Georgia, they gave them an opportunity to get back into the game. They couldn't seal it out. No defensive adjustments. And that's kind of been the case for this team throughout. They come out soft in the second half. They don't adjust. So I think, that the win over Georgia doesn't necessarily, it means something, but it doesn't necessarily save them from the problems that they've shown, because they've just looked ugly in everything that they've played. South Carolina, the win, it looks ugly. Like they let them stay in the game, in a game that they shouldn't have been in. They're a good team, but right now it's just, you have one of the biggest wins and you didn't let it matter for you.
Yeah, I agree. And it's one of those things where you take a class. So you have a couple weighted exams. That was a very weighted exam, but some of these other tests, you're getting, B minuses when you could be getting A's. At least is what we think, right? We think they can get A+ performances, and we just haven't seen it. And so for Bama, to me, it's if they're ultimately, Bama can win voters back when it comes to finding themselves in that top 12 spot, finding themselves in that playoff discussion by winning with style points and brand prestige on the field.
Yeah.
The brand is strong enough where things like podcasts are going to take off. You're going to get viewership with all of your endeavors, but that the brand was made on what is done on the field. And that is where Bama has to get back focused. And so for them to continue to allow that Georgia win to outweigh those Tennessee losses with Vanderbilt and Tennessee, I think they have to look good against, Missouri. They have to look good against LSU. And I think with Auburn, you don't even have to win by a lot. I think you just got to win that game. It's a rivalry game. If it's a 3-point game, that's okay. If it's 4th and 31 again, it's not what you want to see, but I don't think you can penalize a team for winning that game close. But they got to win with style points against LSU and Mizzou, and they got to take care of business against Oklahoma for me. Yeah,
and it's like we always talked about like 2 losses getting in the playoffs. This isn't a 2-loss team that I think belongs in the playoffs. But, like coming into this year, if you would have said, Kalen DeBoer was going to be 10-2 or 9-3 this year, I wouldn't doubt you. I wouldn't be upset. Like, I would be like, okay, that maybe sounds about right. It's a first-year head coach. He's on track for something like that, but it's coming in a way that you didn't expect it to. You didn't expect it to come in such a poor game at Tennessee, and you didn't expect the Vanderbilt loss. You thought, okay, maybe Georgia and LSU. So like the play just doesn't look like the players are there on the field to play the game. There's poor quality of play. The head's not in the game. I saw someone say, and I don't love the term, but it's like inmates running the prison, where all the players are kind of in control. You got guys not subbing out when they've been called off the field because they're frustrated. They're not listening to the coaching staff. Guys shooting threes on a critical QB sneak. Twitter fingers after the game. Like,
I sent you that.
Guys trying to fight and putting us in a 4th and 22. Like the players are not in it for the game. And I think it's just a way that college football is going as a whole, that coaches are having a harder time keeping players locked in. It's much harder when you're a first-year head coach at a program like this. I don't see the respect from the players to the coaching staff, and he hasn't won them over. And it's definitely not happening with the way the games are going. So something has to change quickly, or the players aren't going to respect this coaching staff, and they'll be playing somewhere else.
Yeah, and it is, and I think the escalation in that talk track it speaks volumes, and it's true. You have to think about it this way because every player is a 1-year rental in college football. Like we're talking about if we think Bama can make the playoffs with his resume, but the bigger picture is what we're seeing on the field is not the best product for what Bama has produced. And it's not just the play. It's like you said, guys like Law getting into a altercation at the end when Tennessee's going to try to rally you, right? Just some of the like lack of creativity on defense when it comes to play calling, some missed throws offensively that go back to the eye test, right? If it was a couple years ago or a while ago where it's Joe Burrow versus Tua, and you get 1 or 2 losses in a season where you're playing well, you're looking good, you have some of the best players in the country across the board statistically, I think people would feel better when it comes to Kalen DeBoer, right?
Yeah,
and that type of performance. It's not the best Alabama football. We're focused a lot on the brand off the field that is established based on what's on the field. And in terms of the brand being strong off the field, what the players need to do is win games. Because if you make the playoffs, you got more content to record. You have more things to talk about. And so it might sound like we're taking this a different angle, but bringing it back to the eye test and the resume, the football against South Carolina wasn't their best. We haven't seen them play their best football since the Georgia game, quite frankly.
No.
And I think what they have in their favor, and for the first time in a while, Bama's in a spot where they need other teams to lose to be in the position they want to be in. And that's because they're not playing their best football. There's 3 to 4 other SEC teams ranked ahead of them. You got teams like Kansas State hawking behind them who don't have the brand prestige. They don't have the schedule per se, but there's only so many mulligans you can be afforded as a school like Bama.